Hey, what's going on, guys? So, more videos like this are to come on this channel. This is going to be the first of many videos I start to do. It's about general baseball. So, the Hall of Fame vote was on Wednesday, and nobody got in. And am I surprised by this? Not the slightest bit. Because you look at this ballot, it was the most controversial ballot ever. With the cloud of steroids over most of these players, and the writers, who most of them are pretentious pricks, not voting for a lot of these guys, because if there's even a whisper of steroid use, even though they were never caught or any allegations were charged against them, they're not voting for them. It hurt a lot of guys. Like Mike Piazza. I don't think he ever used steroids. He didn't even come close. Craig Biggio, I felt he was a Hall of Famer. He got the most percentage of the vote out of anyone. He didn't get anything. The thing that pissed me off the most about this Hall of Fame voting was you had all these writers who they're so high and above everyone, they feel that if there's anyone on the ballot, just because there's steroid guys on the ballot, they're not going to submit it because they're that dead set against voting when there's steroid guys on the ballot. They hurt so many guys. Like Biggio, he got 68 or 69% of the vote. Just because if you think they're a Hall of Fame player, don't sit there and go, "Oh, I'm not going to vote because there's a steroid guy on the ballot, but I'm going to screw the rest of these guys." If you think he's a Hall of Fame player, vote for that guy, and don't sit there and not submit your ballot because there's supposed steroid users. That screwed up the voting. If you're going to have a vote, there should be a rule that if you have a vote, you should have to submit a ballot with a player on it. And that's one thing I hate about the Hall of Fame voting. You got these guys, because you have to cover baseball for 10 years on a website, a beat writer, whatever, blah, 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 to get a vote. You got to hold your card in the Baseball Writers Association of America to get a vote. You got to hold it for 10 years, then you get a Hall of Fame vote. Like Pat Caputo, and he's a Detroit writer at Radio House. I don't know how he has a vote. He's a moron, but he does. You get guys like this one dude, I forget his name. He hasn't covered baseball since the 1980s. But the only reason why he keeps his vote is to snub Bonds and Clemens. Now look, I think that Bonds and Clemens should be in the Hall of Fame. That's just my opinion. There's no wrong way to look at how you feel about it. You feel because you steroids it shouldn't be in there? Fine. I can't change your view, nor can anyone else. That's how you feel. There's no wrong way to look at it. Way to look at the situation. I think they should be in there. But if you don't, that's fine. Because like I said, there's no wrong way to look at it. There's so many strong viewpoints on it that there's no changing it. But if you have a ballot, you should have to submit a damn vote. Because that's BS that you snub everyone else just because you don't want to vote for anyone on a vote, put a ballot because of steroids, supposed steroid users on it. I thought that was BS. But I'm not surprised whatsoever that no one got elected. Biggio I felt was a Hall of Famer, but, they got the thing that I absolutely hate. People go, well, look, this guy's not a first ballot Hall of Famer because of his stats, but he's a Hall of Famer. When you get elected into Cooperstown, like Burt Blyleven, it's not going to say in tiny letters on his plaque, this man was a 15th year final ballot Hall of Famer. It doesn't say that. If you're going to get into the Hall of Fame, it shouldn't matter what ballot on. It's you're either a Hall of Famer or you're not. If you have to sit there and go, look, this guy's an 8th ballot Hall of Famer just randomly, then he's not a Hall of Famer then. If you have to think about it, let him sit for 8 years. He's not a Hall of Famer because his stats are not good enough because you have to wait 8 years before you decide to vote for him. Then he's paid his dues by then, sat on the ballot long enough before you say, all right, he's a Hall of Famer. What's the matter from year 15 to year 1? If you're a Hall of Famer, vote for him. And that's another reason why you get all these guys that eventually become Hall of Famers, have to sit for so long, and you get years like this where there's no one elected. Now that there's no one elected, there's people, the voting system's flawed, and, they need to change it. Now, I think the voting system is fine, except for the BS, like I said, writers don't have to submit a vote if they don't want to. But I think 75% is a bit high. I do. I think it should be 60%. So if it takes over, never mind. I lost train of thought there for a second. But, yeah. I think Alan Trammell's shot of ever getting the Hall of Fame is done, which I think is completely BS. If you look at Ozzie Smith, and I'm a firm believer of this, you can come at me as hard as you want with all the stats. If Ozzie Smith did not have all the gold gloves he has, and I believe he had 113, if he does not have those 13 gold gloves, he is in no way, shape, or form a Hall of Famer. He was a lousy hitter. He stole a good little bit amount of bases, and that was it. His claim to fame was defense. If he was not a good defender, he wouldn't be a Hall of Famer. So I know Smith didn't get on the ballot his first try, but I think he was like 6, 7 years on the ballot before he got in. Trammell has more hits than him. He was a way better hitter than Smith. He had 4 Gold Gloves, I think 5 or 6 All-Star appearances, a few Silver Sluggers, and he should have won the MVP in 1988. But he didn't. But he's not in, and I think this was his 13th year on the ballot. He's never going to get in. He's not even coming close to 40% of the vote. And Jack Morris, his shot's over. His window's completely gone now. Now that he didn't get in, I thought this was his best year ever to get in because he almost got 70% of the vote last year with all the steroid people on the ballot. I thought writers were going to go take the easy way out, put that borderline guy in that's been on there a long time, like Morris, but he didn't even get 70% of the vote again. And next year, Tom Glavine comes on, Greg Maddux comes on, Frank Thomas comes on, and if we don't get a guy in the Hall of Fame next year, then I will think something's flawed. Because if you don't think Greg Maddux is a first ballot Hall of Famer, then those writers need to go back and get rid of all their votes. Because I'm 21 years old, and I watched very little of Greg Maddux. I started watching baseball in 2003, but I didn't start watching all of baseball until probably about 06, 07. And by then, Maddux was way past his prime. But you look at his numbers, 4 Cy Youngs, over 300 wins, few thousand strikeouts. This man is the definition. If he is not the standard for a first ballot Hall of Famer, then you need to look at the vote. Even Tom Glavine, I would consider him a first ballot Hall of Famer. Frank Thomas, a couple MVPs, 521 homers. He better get in the there's a chance. So there's 3 guys right there that are potential first ballot Hall of Famers. Trammell's chances are gone and out the window because next year will be his 14th year on the ballot. Morris next year is going to be 15th year, and I don't think there's ever been 4 guys elected into the Hall of Fame in 1 year besides the inaugural class, I think in 1931 that had Ruth, Cobb, Walter Johnson, Connie Mack, all those guys. So I don't think there's going to be there's a shot in hell Morris gets out. No chance. This was his year. This was his window, and it's close, and he's never going to get in. Now, do I think Morris was a Hall of Famer? Yeah, sure, but I could see why if you say you didn't think he was a Hall of Famer, but there's no chance now. But like I said, am I surprised that there's no one in the Hall of Fame? No, whatsoever. But I do think that the Hall of Fame voting is somewhat flawed, and these voters' views are skewed because, like I said, if they have personal vendettas against the players, they won't vote for them, and they hold their card just for that reason. And, like, you have certain players like an Ozzie Smith, like I said, wasn't a good hitter at all. The only reason why he's in is because he's got 13 Gold Gloves. But yet, Trammell can't get in, and he's a better hitter, has similar numbers, and 4 Gold Gloves. And if you're going to vote some guy in just strictly for their defense, why the hell ain't Keith Hernandez in the Hall of Fame then? He's the best defensive first baseman of all time, but he can't get in, and I think he was a 280-some hitter, and he won a batting title. Yet he can't get in. So that's kind of a little politic BS that I hate about the Hall of Fame voting that they need to change. But this, it don't happen often that there goes a year when no one's in. But I think next year for sure, there better damn be. Greg Maddux better damn get in next year because he don't get in. That's a bunch of crap. I understand them snubbing out Bonds and Clemens and all those other guys this year because like Bob Costas said he's punishing him. I mean, that's a real big punishment. Oh, I'm not going to vote for your first year eligibility, but the second year I will. Either way, you get a fucking plaque in Cooperstown. You're going to be in there. You're going to vote for him. So it was, like I said, that's another thing I hate. If you got to think about, you got to be on there 8 years, and then someone goes, all right, now he's a Hall of Fame player. You know what I'm saying? He's either a Hall of Famer or he's not. You vote for him or you don't vote for him. He's got to sit on there 10 years for you to go, yeah, maybe he is a Hall of Fame player. Then he's not a Hall of Fame player. The numbers got to stand out right away, day one after he walks away from baseball. So, like I said, not surprised whatsoever that no one got in. But next year, there better be next year. There will be some guy in the Hall of Fame. But there is people going into the Hall of Fame. There's 3 people in the going Hall of Fame. I think one was an umpire. One was a guy who built Yankee Stadium. Another guy was a catcher from the 1880s. These were all guys that have been dead and gone before 1940. So there will be guys elected in the Hall of Fame. So that's all I got for you guys today. Keep looking out for more videos like this, more general baseball videos, because there's going to be plenty more of them to come. Have a good one, guys.